What's up, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Goal Line Dynasty Football. Today, Tyler and I are going to be examining 5 running backs that we are considering buy lows heading into the offseason of 2023 Dynasty Fantasy Football. But before we jump into the video, got to introduce my lovely co-host, Tyler. So, Tyler, how we doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. This is another tough topic to talk about. I love that we're gonna go tackle it. Nobody really wants to buy running backs at this time of the season. So, we're putting our necks on the line here. This is what we're doing.
I know it's kind of funny because in the last video, we were kind of talking about how outside of the top 4 or 5 running backs right now, it kind of feels like every running back is buy low because none of the values are just there. But I know we got a couple of guys that we want to cover tonight where the value just really, these people are not getting what they should be getting for these guys in trades, and we're looking to exploit that. We want to take advantage of our league mates, take those running backs for ourselves. So, Tyler, who's the first one on your list that we're considering a buy low?
My first guy on this list is going to be a guy that nobody wants to touch right now, and I don't blame them, but at the same time, it's like at a certain price, you kind of have no choice, right? So my guy is going to be Ezekiel Elliott, actually. I'm not really scared of the landing spot. I believe he's ranked somewhere down near, RB maybe like 40 something on Keep Trade Cut. Really bad. So, he's a guy that has a really defined role. Like, I'm not scared of anywhere where he's going to go. So he's like running back 53 on Keep Trade Cut, which is insane of a fall off. I mean, I guess it's warranted, but like at worst case scenario, you're probably getting a Jamal Williams next year. Like, you're getting a guy who is going to get the short yardage on third downs and get the goal line work for whatever team he goes for. And I'm not scared to buy him at whatever the price is. It says right here the price would be Rashawn Johnson, Brock Purdy, Damian Harris, Rashid Shaheed. Yeah, give me Zeke over any of those guys, right?
Well, you know what the funny thing would be?
Round pick. So
yeah, exactly. I was going to say the other thing is, according to Keep Trade Cut, 304. The 304 is worth slightly more than Ezekiel Elliott right now in a 1-for-1 trade. Now, granted, I don't know anyone that's actually going to take the 304 for Ezekiel Elliott in a 1-for-1 trade, but guarantee if you dangled a late second-round pick or a future second-round pick that you think is going to be late to that Ezekiel Elliott owner, you could definitely get him unless that owner is completely desperate for running backs. I like bringing him up as a buy low. You're right. Nobody wants him, and that's the perfect buy low candidate, right? He is only 27 years old. I believe he will be 28 by the time the league year starts in September. But did I say 29? I meant to say 28. I don't know. Can't remember what I'm talking about. It's Monday.
He's old and he's washed. We all know that, right? It doesn't even like the age cliff. He's already at the age cliff. It's been apparent, right? So.
Yeah, but he's going to end up in a pretty decent spot, right? Like some of the biggest rumor right now is ending up with the Buffalo Bills. And who knows, maybe by the time we post this video, maybe he will be a Buffalo Bill. I would absolutely love that for Ezekiel Elliott because James Cook, I love James Cook. I'm a big James Cook fan, but if Ezekiel Elliott joins the Buffalo Bills, he is 110% their goal line back. He is 110% their guy in most first and second downs, right? So I think landing in a spot like that would give him an obvious workload, and you're not going to be getting your top 5 season out of Ezekiel Elliott. You're not trading up for a guy that has legit RB1 upside. But to your point, he could be this year's Jamal Williams. I think he'll have less yards than Jamal Williams. I don't think he's going to hit 17 total touchdowns, but it's still not a ridiculous statement to say that Zeke could still have 8 to 10 touchdowns with his new squad in 2023. And if you can give me a running back, even if he's only going to have 600 or 700 yards on the season, but he's going to get me, 8 to 10 touchdowns, I will easily take that for a future second-round pick, and I won't think twice about it. So I love that you're calling him a buy low there.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think the Bills would be my favorite landing spot. Like, if he's going to go to anywhere, I don't want him to go to a place that has a quarterback that's going to run a bunch of quarterback sneaks and run the ball on the goal line. So that's just me. But, I mean, I could see the Bills saying, hey, why would we subject Josh Allen to getting piled on by these D linemen when we have Zeke to do it for us, So, I mean, I guess I wouldn't hate the landing spot. There's really no landing spot that I hate. It's going to be if it's going to be the Bills, it's the highest powered offense in the NFL pretty much. So, I'm definitely taking Zeke at the price, the 304. That's absolutely insane to me for for knowing. I mean, how many touchdowns did he have this year? He had double-digit touchdowns this year, didn't he? So yeah. So I'm with it. I'm with that price for Zeke. Give him to me all day long on any roster. Honestly, if you're gonna buy a RB2 for free, like there's in the offseason, there's no sense not to. The 304 is practically free at that point.
Yeah, and the thing with Zeke too is chances are you don't have to acquire him to be your RB2. He might not even be your flex option, right? Like people can buy Ezekiel Elliott for the same cost as a bye-week filler right now. And again, it's not going to be a sexy name moving forward, but Zeke is a perfectly serviceable guy. And if I need a bye-week filler between week 7 and week 13 and his name is constantly popping up on my roster, you could do plenty worse than that. So yeah, if you're contending, go out and get Ezekiel Elliott for the low. Now, I want to go into my first buy low here at the running back position. It's Najee Harris. Najee, he's 25 years old. He came in super old, right? I think when he entered the league, he was already 23, borderline 24. Let's see exactly how old he is at this point in time. I'm curious. So he is exactly 25 years old. I think he just recently turned 25 then. But he is fantastic. He is so underrated right now, it bothers me. Because Najee Harris on Keep Trade Cut is RB13. Najee Harris on Fantasy Pros consensus rankings is RB12. Now, granted, the Fantasy Pros rankings, it doesn't include Bijan Robinson yet, so that bumps Najee down 1. Doesn't include Gibbs. Could go either way between those two, depending on who you ask. And even Charbonnet is probably up there. So Najee Harris is floating around between that 13 to 15 overall running back range, and he should be so much higher than that, right? If you look at last season, if you look at the 2022 season, the Steelers were a total shit show, right? They didn't have a whole hell of a lot going on for them, but they were still a half-decent team, which I guess kudos to them. But the most important thing is that between weeks 11 and week 18, as soon as we turned over from the first half of fantasy season to the second half of the fantasy season, Najee Harris was the overall RB5. He got the workload. We weren't worrying about what Jalen Warren was doing or whoever was doing in the backfield with him. Najee Harris retook that offense and he ran with it, finished top 5 over the last half of the season. And the thing that people keep forgetting for whatever reason is he had that Liz Frank injury going into the season. We all just kind of chose to ignore it. I'm guilty of that, right? Najee Harris played 2 bad games to start the season. I was like, oh, he's washed. Let's get rid of him. Yeah, that somehow he's proven that the injury is behind him, but the injury discount is still there. For that reason, Najee Harris, great buy low candidate.
Definitely. And we mentioned him last week in our video talking about him being like this year's Josh Jacobs. Not necessarily, I mean, actually it's entirely possible that this guy finishes as a top 5 running back, but he's ranked down there. You're probably drafting him in the 5th, 6th round. Like, I mean, he just finished as the RB3 last year, and like you said, he's coming off an injury, RB14. Like, if that's the worst you're going to get out of a 25-year-old running back right now in his second year in the league, I'm all for paying whatever price it is. I mean, it's probably a late first or something like that. I would take Najee over any rookie pick past the 108 right now, or maybe 109. Probably 108, 109 is my buy sell point.
And I think that's probably about fair value. I would say the 108 or 109 is going to be fair value. I would be more than happy to send either one of those picks for Najee Harris and still considering that a buy low. If you're sending, a top 5 pick in the 2023, then you're not buying low. You're not taking advantage of the dip, right? We always want to buy the dip, whether you're talking about stocks, Dynasty, whatever, you always buy the dip, right? And that's what Najee Harris is going through right now. I don't even think you would need to spend the 108 or 109, to be completely honest with you. I think that you can play the card. Look, if you look at Najee Harris on a full year basis, he really wasn't amazing, right? Because even though we know, anyone watching this channel right now, we know that weeks 11 to 18, he was fantastic, but weeks 1 to 10, he was abysmal. You can use that to your advantage when talking these guys down. You could probably get Najee Harris if you want to avoid paying that top 8, top 9 pick. You could do either the 112 and the 20 or 112 or the 201 plus maybe a future second or a serviceable running back like a Deontay Foreman or a Jamal Williams or something like that. Pay that late first, early second round to tier up in those running backs because Najee Harris has RB1 upside. And honestly, I would be really surprised to see him finish outside of the top 10 for the next 2 to 3 years in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, we knew what he was coming out. Like, he was such a sure prospect. I can't really understand why people are just bailing on him so early when his injury was well known. So
Yeah, I don't get it. I think it's because he came into the league so old, right? Like we were all like, "Oh no, he's 23 already. He's like halfway to his death sentence on my dynasty roster." And, maybe it's because in the same class, Javonte Williams came in at the ripe age of 20 and a half or whatever it was. But yeah, it's stupid fading Najee Harris right now. And I'm buying him low pretty much anywhere I can this offseason.
Yeah, so I'll hop into my next guy. This guy's Cam Akers, a guy who was super controversial last year. Almost nobody was touching him at all. And I mean, at this point, he's still a buy low, even after, at least in my opinion, after the Rams showed some faith in him past week 13 last year. He's a 23-year-old guy. He's going to be in the league for another 4 or 5 years at worst, even as a bye week filler. It says he's equivalent to about the 203 right now on Keep Trade Cut RB29. There's not 29 running backs in the league that I'd probably rather have than Cam Akers right now. So, I mean, if the Rams have faith in him, if they don't draft somebody in this upcoming draft, which I don't know, I mean, probably going to happen, later on in the later rounds, third, fourth round. But I'm still believing in. I can't say I'm still believing in Cam Akers. I really didn't believe him last year, but I mean, I think the price is still just so low that I saw enough this year that I'm willing to buy into this 23-year-old running back at a price of a early to mid second round pick this year.
Yeah, I like calling Cam Akers a buy low. And even though, neither me or you is the biggest Cam Akers fan out there, I think having him around RB30 overall in the consensus is a little irresponsible. There are not 30 running backs that I would rather have over Cam Akers in fantasy football. We don't know what's going to happen with the Rams, but we do know this. They did not sign a big name free agent. Worst case scenario for Cam Akers right now is they bring in Zeke, or they bring in a guy like Leonard Fournette or Kareem Hunt, or I actually the only quote unquote young running back still available in free agency that's worth a damn is Damian Harris. And even Damian Harris isn't anything crazy, right? If any of those guys goes to the Rams, it's still Cam Akers' backfield, right? He's going to take a hit, but it's still primarily going to be his, I think. The worst thing that could happen for Cam Akers is that they draft a guy. But the Rams, as much as they don't want to admit it, kind of transitioning into a rebuild period, right? I think they're going to go for it this year because they still got Cooper Kupp. They think they still have Matt Stafford. We don't know if he's going to retire, whatever. And if they go into the draft with that mindset, okay, then we should panic a little bit because they probably would draft at least a late day 2, early day 3 running back. And then we get some question marks with Cam Akers. But I don't think they're going to swing for the fences on one. Like they're not in the Bijan Robinson sweepstakes. They're not going to go for Jamar Gibbs. They're not going to get Zach Charbonnet. Why are you laughing at me?
Because you said Jamar Gibbs again.
Why do I keep?
I wasn't even calling you out. I wasn't going to call you out. I literally I just smiled about it. I was going to keep my mouth shut. I was going to let you do your thing. And I wasn't going to say a word. But you,
Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm sorry. Okay, I keep doing that, and I don't know why. But the point is, they're not going to get one of the top 3 rookie running backs. They did not get any of the top 5, top 6 free agency or running backs in free agency. This is Cam Akers' backfield. He ended the season with, 3 games in a row of having 100 rushing yards there. Granted, they were against bad defenses, but still, things are looking up for Cam Akers. I had a tentative offer out there, right? I'm in a 16-team league Superflex. For those of you who've never been in a 16-team Superflex, it's hell. It's a lot of fun, but it is hell. But anyway, I sent out an offer, a future second and like a mid-second this year for both Cam Akers and Terrace Marshall. Now, this was before Adam Thielen signed in Carolina, so maybe I should send him this offer again. But he goes, you know what? That's a really close offer, but I'm going to hold off for now. And the fact that you could tempt someone with either a mid-second round pick or a future second round pick for Cam Akers right now, that's all you need to say right there. That's a good buy low.
I mean, he's a guy who was taken at like the 106, 107 his rookie drafts. He was, I don't remember what year it was. It was only a year or two. It was 2 years ago, I think. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for paying this price. I don't my faith hasn't totally diminished in him I mean, it wasn't very high to begin with, but like at this price, I mean, who else am I going to draft at that 203, 204 spot? Like a running back who I'm going to hope looks like Cam Akers and has that profile. So, and I'm probably not going to get that profile at the 203, 204. So,
well, the cool thing before we move on from Cam Akers, he's still only 23 years old, right? Like, that's it. And actually, he's been in the year, or geez, it's Monday, I can't talk. He's been in the league a season longer than Najee Harris has, if I'm getting that correct. And he's a year and a half younger than Najee Harris. Granted, I'm still taking Najee in a 1-for-1, but you see what I'm saying. Cam Akers is still low enough. That's a great buy low option right there. So I want to get into my second buy low guy here, and it's going to be Tyler Allgeier. He had a really good year for Atlanta in 2022. He was in a timeshare pretty much the entire year up until, I would say, the last 3 to 5 weeks there. Tyler Allgeier really took over, finished the year with over 1,000 rushing yards, only 4 total touchdowns though. And he had, I think, like somewhere between 210 and 225 rushing attempts. I would expect him to get more than 4 touchdowns total in 2023. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him surpass that 1,000 rushing yards mark again. The thing that I really like with buying Tyler Allgeier low right now is there are so many people that think the Atlanta Falcons are going to go out and draft a running back. We know they didn't address it in free agency, right? They added to their wide receiver room, but they did not add to their running back room, which is fantastic for Tyler Allgeier. What I'm reading into with how the Falcons have played free agency is they're adding more receivers so that they can put Cordarrelle Patterson primarily in the backfield, right? Now, you might be thinking, well, that's more competition for Tyler Allgeier, but it's not. Tyler Allgeier is not the third down guy, and he's never going to be the third down guy. If his only competition for touches, or if his main competition for touches when the season starts, if that's Cordarrelle Patterson, that is fantastic. That's telling us that Tyler Allgeier is going to get 80% plus of the work on first down. He's going to get 60 to 70% of the work on second downs. And he's probably going to be their goal line back as well, because he is that bruiser type guy. Like I said, they're not going to spend early draft capital on a running back. There's no reason to. They're still in the middle of their rebuild. They're probably going to tank for Caleb Williams or Drake May for 2024, right? So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, they've avoided all of the big fish in free agency for the running back position, and they're not in contention to be even a top 5, drafter for running backs in the rookie draft in April. So give me Tyler Allgeier all day at the low price of what, like, you're probably getting him for the same cost that you're getting Cam Akers, like a mid-second round, maybe even a future second-round pick. Find the guy that's afraid that the Falcons are going to draft someone in the NFL draft. Capitalize on that, because Allgeier is going to have a solid 2023.
Yeah, it says he's ranked about the 204 right now, RB 26 in the keep trade cut. As I'm kind of looking at these keep trade cut rankings, I feel like it's kind of almost a fair price. I mean, I'm looking at these players. I see, early second. I see Rashad Bateman slightly above him. I see Mike Evans, Aaron Jones, D-Hop, Cam Akers right below him. I mean, I feel like even like Monty is like pretty much neck and neck. Monty's RB25, Allgeier is RB26. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily agree in calling him a buy low there. I would definitely play the 204 for him, but I don't know if I would pay those solid guys that I know, the Monty, even Aaron Jones, the D-Hop. I don't know if I'm going to pay that price for Tyler Allgeier, just because there wasn't any kind of significant draft capital in him from Atlanta. And but I do agree with you in the fact that I don't believe that Atlanta is going to add to the running back room, at least in a significant way. I don't think they have any reason to go out and add Bijan or a Gibbs or anything like that. And I also don't think that he's competing for the same touches as Cordarrelle Patterson. So, yeah, I'm all with you here, and we're on the same page on this one as far as what I'm paying for him. But I don't know if I'm considering him like the lowest of all buy lows. I feel like RB26 is kind of around the range.
I think that having him as around the RB26 in KTC and on the consensus, I think that's fair. But I think that there is the fear of the NFL draft baked into the minds of a lot of people that have Tyler Allgeier. And that's why I would consider him a buy low, right? Just because there's so many people that are really hyped over this rookie class. I'm going to take Tyler Allgeier over the 206. I'm going to take him over the 205. I might even take him over the 204, right? We did that mock draft a few weeks back, and the 204 was, a guy like Dalton Kincaid, Darnell Washington. Trying to think who else was there. There really wasn't. There was nobody there that I would put in like the top 10 to 12 of my own personal Superflex rankings for the rookies coming in. And I'm only going to take one of those guys in my top 10 or top 12 over Tyler Allgeier because I just the opportunity is going to be there for him in 2023. And I want to capitalize on that. I think he's a buy low this year and then a sell high as soon as the season's over.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to like the rookie picks, like I have no problem sending those second round picks for him because, like, again, you're hoping. But when I know like I could get a Monty for him and Aaron Jones, like I might be willing to do that. I mean, if I'm on a rebuilding roster, I'm probably not sending Allgeier for Aaron Jones, obviously, for obvious reasons. But I think it's tough for me on a lot of rosters to send those guys away for Allgeier. Maybe I'm one of those people that has the whole rookie thing baked into his mind. But for me, it's more about his own draft capital and what we've seen in that history. But I mean, when you're getting down to that mid-second round, you're probably getting guys who had similar draft capital investment as Tyler Allgeier. So knowing that you're going to get a guy who a team has shown they're willing to put a workload into, I'm okay with that, sending those rookie picks that are at the similar value for him, but not necessarily those vets that are concrete and we know who they are.
Fair enough. But I know we got one more guy here, and I believe you're bringing him to the table. So who's the last guy we're buying low?
He is my favorite buy low of this entire video, Joe Moneybag Mixon. This dude just finished as the RB10 this year while missing 2 games. Granted, he didn't have the greatest statistical season that you would expect from Joe Mixon like we saw the year before. He's still been what he's been pretty much his entire career. The guy's 26 and he's currently ranked as the RB 32 on Keep Trade Cut, ranked at the 206, or for Kadarius Toney, an early second. Like, that is so gross. This guy was considered a top 10, top 7 running back last year. And he puts up a top 10 season, and all because, I mean, we just found out that he's not going to get indicted a couple weeks ago. Do I agree with what he did? No, but all I care about is fantasy in this case. So, I mean, if you can buy him for Brian Robinson, A.J. Dillon, Evan Ingram, Jacoby Myers, like Kadarius, like, this is insane. This is insane what's going on here with Joe Mixon's value. And I'm going to take him every time at that price over the 206, over any of those guys. He's ranked literally 5 spots behind Aaron Jones. How does that happen? I don't understand in what world how he's behind guys like David Montgomery, like a Zay Flowers. Like, I mean, I could understand Dalvin Cook, I guess, but I mean, even a Dalvin Cook, like Joe Mixon is probably like neck and neck with him. Like, he should be up near that RB 20 range, near Isaiah Pacheco and those guys. I'm not taking Pacheco over him either. Pacheco's ranked at RB 23. I'm babbling at this point, but it's like I find it so ridiculous that he's down here, and I'm gonna buy him everywhere that anybody considers him. I can't even speak, but anybody who considers a mid-second round pick fair price for Joe Mixon, you're out of your mind, and I'm taking him from you.
Well, this is going to be the first one of the video that I completely disagree with you on. I want absolutely nothing to do with Joe Mixon. And here's why. On Keep Trade Cut and the consensus, right, people are ranking him as the RB 28 to RB 30. No one's selling him for that. Like, I don't think anyone is going to, if the legal issues were still going on, if it hadn't been cleared up at this point, then yeah, you probably could have found someone that was panic selling. I don't think anyone is going to sell him low. Like, I don't think anyone's going to sell him for the same cost as we're buying Cam Akers and Tyler Allgeier. I think people are going to just hold on to him and ride him into the sunset at that point. Now, with that being said, even if I can get him for the 206, I'll probably take that, right? If you can send that offer out there and that's realistic and people in real life are going to take that, then yeah, by all means. But I'm not going out of my way to buy Joe Mixon. And here's why. His 2022 season was just abysmal, absolutely abysmal. If you now, granted, I hate using this as a tool, but let's take away his best game of the season, right? He played in all 17 games by the look of it, right? I think so.
No, he played in 15.
So he played in 15 games. He had 22 carries for 153 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Carolina Panthers. That hurt. And in that same game, 4 catches for 58 yards and a touchdown. On the year, right, he had 2 total receiving touchdowns. One of them came in that game. He had 441 receiving yards. 58 of them came in that game. I'm not too worried about his receiving stats. We don't have Joe Mixon as a PPR monster. His receptions are just a bonus, right? But take away his 153 yards in that one game. Take away his 4 touchdowns in that one game. Suddenly, he only had 661 yards and 3 touchdowns over the course of 14 games in one of the league's best offenses. Now, like I said, I hate using, take away his best game as a tool. But if he didn't have this insane, massive spike week, his stat line would have been horrendous. I mean, even still, 15 for what Joe Mixon is, having 814 yards, 7 touchdowns on the entire season, averaging less than 4 yards a carry, kind of disappointing, right? But you put it into perspective, you take away that massive out-of-character game, and you got a guy who is over the hill in Joe Mixon. So I will agree with you in the fact that if you can buy him low for like the 206 or 207, I would take that. But I don't think anyone's going to sell that, and I'm not going out of my way to acquire him because I think he's washed.
I mean, if you go back and look, though, there's only been really only one season where he's had less touches on the same amount of games, as opposed to what he had this past season. I don't think the opportunity is going anywhere. There's no competition on that roster. I know you say that people aren't going to sell him for that, but I'm sending the offers anyways. I'm going to try. I'll send the 201 plus James Cook for Joe Mixon. I'll send the 206 plus Gabe Davis for Joe Mixon or something like that. I'm all good with that, and I'm definitely buying him at least at the keep trade cut price that's going down. But I do understand your argument of taking out that one spike week, and especially when there's 4 touchdowns in that one spike week when he only had 7, but and over the course of the entire season. But I mean, again, we're just looking at these rankings trying to find some discrepancies, and I thought this was a huge one for me.
Yeah, the only other thing with Joe Mixon is he's a little older than I thought he was. He'll be 27 by the time training camp starts, and I don't know why I thought Joe Mixon was still 25 years old, but he's not. He's going to be 27 at the start of this year, and we all know that as soon as a running back hits 27, unless it's like Austin Eckler or something like that, they're kind of dead to the fantasy community. So I think the buy low window, as you say, it's here. It's here. I don't think anyone is giving you the cost that KTC is telling you we can get them, but it's there. If you can buy them for the low, go for it. But I can't go out of my way to get them. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, if the Bengals were going to cut him, they would have done it already, right? He's owed $9.5 million this year. I think that's definitely an overpay considering what he is. I would be very surprised if he's still with the Bengals this time next year. I think he's going to be a cap casualty going into that 2024 season. So we'll see if they're active at all in the NFL draft when it comes to these running backs. But
well, if I pay the 206 for him, I'm not going to care who he plays for when he's 28, 29 years old.
That's also very true. You know what, dude? This time next year, you'll get that Ezekiel Elliott discount that everyone actually is giving right now, right? So, yeah. But cool, yeah. So that's gonna do it for us here on Goal Line Dynasty. Hopefully we can help you out navigate through the dreaded waters that is the running back landscape of the 2023 offseason. We've said it before, we'll say it again. Running backs gross right now. The values are all over the place. Nobody knows how to value them. Nobody knows what to buy for them. I mean, Tyler, I don't know about you, but I even struggle right now when I'm sending out offers to acquire running backs in my leagues. I'm like, he's worth that, but I don't want to pay that. You know what I mean? So it's weird. It's weird. So hopefully between these 5 guys, we said someone that has a little bit of intrigue or maybe is on the trade block in your leagues out there. If you're contending, go out and get one of these guys. Or even if you're not contending, Cam Akers, Tyler Allgeier, nice and young. Najee Harris, only 25 years old and only on the 4th year of his contract. why not? There's a little bit of everything in this video for everyone, no matter what position your team is in.
Yeah, man, it was definitely a good one. I think we pointed out some good guys that, aren't really being focused on in the dynasty landscape right now. So, yeah, I'm glad. I hope that we could have provided some useful information to somebody, and hopefully it works out. And if it doesn't work out, I hope you forget that it was us who told you to do so.
Exactly. Well, I have a task for everyone. Obviously, go like, subscribe, all that good stuff, right? But tell us who your favorite buy low running back is right now in dynasty formats, because Tyler, I don't know you, but I'm just genuinely curious to see where our viewers are and to get just a glimpse into consensus on what are we doing with these running backs, right? So tell us who your favorite buy low running back is this offseason. If you completely disagree with Tyler and I on one of these, hey, that's fine. Let us know that too. But with that being said, for myself, for Tyler, for Goal Line Dynasty, we will see you next time.